All right, stand by. 10 seconds.
Camera one.
Count.
Ready, camera two.
And cue talent.
One.
Roll for record.
Vaccination accusations are flying. I'm John Phillips, and this is The Rundown. The state of California sparked fury recently by passing a new law that makes vaccination mandatory for all kids without a valid medical excuse in order to attend public school. Anti-vaccination protesters who claim vaccines cause autism and other health problems are holding rallies and vowing repeal. Comedian Jim Carrey waded into the fray, calling California Governor Jerry Brown a corporate fascist who's poisoning children by citing the vaccine bill. But Fire Marshal Bill did have to apologize for posting a picture of a random autistic kid without the family's permission as part of his argument, in spite of the fact that the kid's condition had nothing to do with vaccines. Surprise, surprise. And he's not the only one upset. California lawmakers have been getting death threats, and one man was arrested for spray painting the message, "For every kid afflicted, a public figure will die," on public buildings. Seems like most anti-vaxxers are on the left, with Carrey, his former flame, and anti-vaccine queen Jenny McCarthy, and even Robert F. Kennedy Jr. among the most prominent. You may recall Kennedy had to apologize for calling mass vaccination, quote, a holocaust earlier this year. And certainly the highest concentration of unvaccinated kids are in wealthy, deeply blue parts of California, like Santa Monica, Humboldt County. But to be perfectly clear, vaccines have been proven over and over and over again to be both safe and effective for the vast majority of people. In fact, the recent measles outbreak centered on Disneyland would not have been nearly as bad or spread so fast if more parents weren't refusing to have their kids vaccinated. But this is an issue that cuts across normal ideological lines. Anti-vaxxers sound a little like Republicans, saying mandatory vaccination is government run amok and taking health decisions away from parents. But there's a comparison that can be made to abortion. Where do parental rights end and the health and safety of kids take precedence? Who are the science deniers here? To talk about this, all the controversy particularly, is PJTV contributor and blogger at vodkapundit.com, Stephen Green, and stand-up comic and PJTV contributor, Stephen Kruiser. Now, Stephen, this is the case where the science is absolutely clear. Vaccines do not cause autism. This has been proven time and time and time again. The Center for Disease Control has issued statement after statement saying this is the science. It's backed up by science in medical journals. All the top medical hospitals, medical schools say the same thing. But on the opposite side, we have Fire Marshal Bill and Jenny McCarthy. The debate is not a debate. The debate is over. The debate has been won. Yet it seems like these conspiracy theorists still have a platform because they're celebrities or they have their mommy blogs, and there are people that don't know what to believe. And I think that's a real shame here because there are real health consequences to come of it.
Gosh, it's almost as if we had culturally celebrity-driven junk science being disseminated into the public for decades now or something. And these are the same people who think that a human embryo doesn't grow into it's not guaranteed that it's going to be a child, or that one of 6 zillion computer models is absolutely sure the way that's how the climate is going to work out. Look, this is very real. It's very dangerous. State of Washington just recently reported the first measles death in the U.S. in over a decade, in almost 12 years, I think. So now people are dying. It's not people aren't dying all over the place, but there was a death from something that there didn't need to be a death from. This is something that's preventable. This isn't a car accident. This is something you can almost completely get rid of, and that a bunch of celebrities who think it's causing a disease that it's been proven time and time again that it's not causing are telling people that it's causing, and they're embracing it. They're making decisions about their children's health based on, as you said, the Playboy model and Fire Marshal Bill. And I'm glad you brought up the Fire Marshal Bill thing. That's old school. That's kicking it old school. You didn't go with some cheesy Ace Ventura garbage. You went Fire Marshal.
In living color.
Yep.
All right. Now, Stephen Green, this is a case where liberals are the ones that are putting out a conspiracy theory. You watch MSNBC for years and years and years. All they could talk about was the Barack Obama birth certificate that Donald Trump and a couple people were talking about. No one in mainstream the conservative movement, the conservative world was talking about that. But MSNBC acted like it was the top story in the country for a very long period of time. Now liberals are doing it, but unlike just being kind of a back-of-the-book type of story, this is actually making people sick. Why isn't the mainstream media coming down on liberals for promoting a conspiracy theory that has been completely debunked?
It is incredibly frustrating. All of this bad science coming from the left. The only thing I can possibly think of is that the media starts treating a science story like this fairly, then they're going to have to treat all of the science stories fairly. Because there's a really broad bit of bad science going on the left, and there's a common theme. Robert F. Kennedy had to apologize for that Holocaust comment, but he's more right than even he knows. Look. These lefties who want to stop vaccinations, they're bringing back infectious disease that kills people. President Obama right now is promising the UN to reduce our carbon emissions by 28%, which if you do immediately just whacks 28% off our GDP and suddenly we're a poor nation. Or if you do it over a course of years, you're taking 28% off of our growth at a time when we have to grow our way out of this $18 trillion debt we're sitting on. And the end result of both of these policies, whether it's global warming scaring or anti-vax movement, is to make sure there are a lot fewer people on the planet. That is a real Holocaust, and if these lefties get their way, that's exactly what we'll get.
You know, my first job in the media was with CBS News. I was a writer. And one of the things that they teach you when you first start out is that you have to treat the sympathetic victim, the sympathetic character in the story, differently than you treat other people. So if someone just lost their kid in a car accident, you don't want to ask too many probing questions because they're grieving and you want to have respect for them. In this case, you have parents that have autistic children. And there's no one out there, none of us on this panel, no one in this audience that doesn't have sympathy for parents that are dealing with an autistic child, particularly those that are severely autistic. It changes your life in a very fundamental way. And it's frequently these people that are out there spreading this false rumor. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is a sense of, well, this person has already suffered enough. They believe something that's not true, but I'm not going to call them out on it because they're the sympathetic victim in the story. They're the sympathetic character. And I think that that's dangerous because by not calling them out, people who may not have a background in science think, well, hey, it happened to this person's kid. It could happen to me. And we do a disservice to the public. We do a disservice to the listening audience.
Their grief-induced speculation does not give them the right to endanger other children. It's that simple. It's harsh, it sounds cold, but that's the truth because you can't vaccinate an infant for measles, against measles right away. So that's who gets endangered. And as this keeps spreading and spreading and spreading and fewer people are being vaccinated, babies get endangered then. And eventually a baby will die. And this is, so it's harsh. Were any of their speculation based on something that had been proven so far, that would be different. But that's not the case. It's a relatively new field, this intensive study of autism. The spectrum is widening. They're still trying to find out things about it. And there isn't any proof that vaccines are causing this. There's not even there's not a modicum, or there's not a tiny bit of proof. So it's tragic, but it doesn't give them the right to endanger other children. And but the thing is about this California law, everybody's trying to make it seem like a big state intervention. Kids playing sports in California already have to have all of these vaccinations. You can't be on a team. They have to. So this isn't like a huge step. It's like a step for the non-jocks in the school maybe. But this is something that's just been a common sense law for the longest time as far as athletes go because they're interacting with each other.
You know, Stephen, if you follow the conspiracy theory all the way through, if you listen to what Jim Carrey's saying, it almost seems like what he's saying is they're purposely making children autistic, despite the fact that the autism rate has gone up after they banned the substance, the thimerosal, I think it's called.
Thimerosal, yeah.
Thimerosal. They banned that from being in vaccines, and the autism rate has gone up. So if you listen to what he's saying that doctors, pediatricians, and the drug companies, pharmaceuticals, and the government are all together in a cabal to purposely make as many kids autistic as possible because that drives up corporate profits. How can any sane person believe that?
Well, the President of the United States believes it. Maybe not in this particular instance, but we remember President Obama during the push for Obamacare, maybe it was during the 2008 campaign, claiming that doctors amputate limbs unnecessarily, they remove tonsils unnecessarily, just to make some money. You know, that was a slander of doctors all across the nation, all around the world, who are some of the smartest and most independent thinkers in the world, and that is why government has to clamp down on them with things like Obamacare. And now that's why this issue, I think, is being used against them as well. Look, you know, years ago, I think it was in Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand wrote that doctors are tough, they're dedicated, they're smart, and a lot of them are entrepreneurial, and those people are the natural enemies of big government. And we can watch big government go to war with them on issue after issue after issue.
I will say this, we've been pretty tough on the anti-vaccine crowd, and I think we should be because they're wrong. But I think this is also part of the American experience, because this country was founded on the distrust of government.
Yes.
And on the right, we don't trust the IRS. We don't trust those that are doing the regulating. We don't trust the EPA. On the left, they don't trust the cops, and they don't trust the hospitals. They think that they're out to get them, specifically big government, or big corporations, rather. So I think that you'll always have these debates, you'll always have this problem in the United States because of our inherent distrust of government.
It's true, but it's just weird that it's cast Jerry Brown in this light now that he had to be the one that moved on this. The reason he had to be the one that moved on this is because it's huge swaths of rich liberals in California who aren't vaccinating their children right now.
Yes.
That's what's been proven thus far. When I read about the death in Washington, the first thing that the Washington health official said was, well, there are a lot of people with religious exceptions to this. They started blaming the religious people.
Right.
It's not the religious people doing this. I remember seeing an interview, a television interview with a woman in San Francisco about 8-9 months ago saying, well, they asked her why, you know, she was against vaccinating and why it seemed to be permeating her neighborhood, the belief that they shouldn't be vaccinated. She said, well, you know, we're just all liberal and well-informed. That was her answer, nothing else. We're just liberal and well. So it's a very odd situation right now. But then Jerry Brown hasn't always been as whacked out left as most people think he is either.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, but now it's your turn. Is it right for a state to demand that kids be vaccinated before they can go to public school? Is this just common sense, or is it government overreach? Tell us what you think in the comment section below. I'm John Phillips. Thanks so much for watching The Rundown.